My brother sold all my things without my permission. When I confronted him about it, my parents took his side, so I decided to sue him. Let me explain what happened. I'm 23 years old and I tend to keep to myself. I don't really like interacting with people, but I don't hold grudges either. As long as people don't mess with my life, I'm fine. My brother has always been my friend, even though we're very different. We used to share a lot of things, but lately, he's been changing. He became bossy at home, started telling everyone what to do, and always got what he wanted from our parents, even with his poor school grades. He smokes, drinks, and uses me as his personal taxi driver. Despite all this, I was happy because I had worked hard to buy the computer of my dreams. I would spend my nights locked in my room coding or playing video games to relax after my engineering studies. Everything changed when I got an internship in another city. Living alone was tough at first, but I eventually adapted and even started to enjoy it. I gained confidence, changed my style of clothing, and started working out since I no longer had my computer around to distract me. When I returned home after the internship, nothing had changed in the family environment. The arguments continued, and I just wanted my computer to escape from it all. That's when I found out it was missing. I asked my mom, and she said my brother had sold it to buy sneakers and clothes. I was in complete shock. I asked him why he did it, and he just laughed and said I could buy another one, as if it was no big deal. When I learned that he had sold my computer for $1,000, I nearly lost it, because it was worth a lot more than that. In my anger, I grabbed his laptop and smashed it on the ground. The noise brought my parents running, and my brother started yelling at me, asking what was wrong with me. I was furious, explaining that he had no right to do what he did, and that he was an idiot for taking my things without permission. Now, I'm suing him to try to right this wrong. I explained that I needed my computer for work, and that it was mine. My dad arrived and angrily said it was just a computer. I calmly told him to be quiet, and that stealing from others wasn't something normal. I felt betrayed, so I decided to leave, since my parents weren't on my side. I went to the police station and filed a report. Since my computer was worth over $1,000, my brother could end up in jail. My parents tried to convince me to drop the lawsuit, but I didn't want to give in. I didn't want to stay with them because they treated me like I didn't matter. I decided to go ahead with the lawsuit, and my brother had to give me back nearly $5,000, in addition to paying the lawyer's fees I had hired to resolve the issue. Because of this, my entire family turned against me. I cut ties with them all and moved in with a cousin. Now, I'm about to graduate and will soon get a job. I can't wait to leave and never have to deal with my family again. They treated me with such disdain that I don't feel bad about breaking ties. I know I did the right thing by taking my brother to court, and I'm satisfied that I won the case. Getting the money back gave me a sense of justice and the chance to buy a new computer, without which I couldn't continue my studies and my work. It felt good to know that I was able to resolve the situation. Otherwise, my brother might keep doing the same thing to other people. On another note, I've been dating a guy named John for 6 weeks. That's not his real name, but I met him through a dating app. I also saw him around work corridors. We meet at least once a week, and it's been nice. The problem is that a few days ago, I found out that a friend of mine, named Sarah, also a fake name, has been dating him for 4 weeks, meaning she started seeing him 2 weeks after I did. They went on a date 2 weeks ago and almost met again last week, but Sarah had to cancel. I was quite bothered to learn that John used the same approach with both her and me. He didn't technically do anything wrong, because we never discussed exclusivity, but I felt like I was a backup option, someone to fill in the gaps when he couldn't find someone else. This shook me because I was already opening up to him, and we'd had some deep conversations. I don't know whether I should continue or just move on. It's strange to think he was trying to do the same things with both Sarah and me, almost as if it was a script. Now I'm confused and really don't know how to handle this situation. A few days ago, Sarah and I attended a group event when the story about John came out. I texted him as soon as I found out what was going on. The next day, Sarah and I met up and had an honest conversation about the situation. She revealed everything, even though John had asked her not to say anything. We decided it would be best for both of us to step back, because she was starting to have feelings for him, and I was feeling increasingly uncomfortable with all this mess. After John received text messages from both of us, he told us that he liked me and wanted to continue, but he was waiting until I was ready. He even said he'd delete the dating apps if I asked. He claimed he intended to discuss exclusivity at our next meeting. I don't know how I should deal with this, because his interactions with Sarah make me believe he was just looking for something casual. If it weren't a close friend, I might be able to be more impartial, but the way everything happened left me feeling hesitant. I don't know whether I should try to give this relationship a chance or just walk away. It seems like John was playing with both our feelings and only now, after getting caught, wants to appear more serious. He clearly knew what he was doing and was taking advantage of the situation to have two options. Honestly, I wouldn't trust him. It seems like he was waiting to see who would become more interested before making a decision. If he was playing with us like this, who knows if he wouldn't do the same in the future? If I were in your shoes, I'd walk away. He had time to be honest and choose a path, but he preferred to play with two people's emotions at once. He's old enough to know that's not right. I think it's time to look for someone who is loyal from the start and isn't playing with other people's hearts. You deserve someone who really wants to be with you for who you are, not someone who is just trying to see which is the best option. On another note, my parents hate my boyfriend, and I don't know how to move forward or what to do. We're both 21 years old and have been together for a year, but we've known each other's families for over 10 years. His mom was my mentor, and my family always liked him. However, my parents are extremely protective and didn't allow me to do much with boys. They wanted me to always have a companion. I couldn't call them or be alone with them. But because they knew my boyfriend, they made an exception when we started dating. Many people in our church advised my parents not to trust him. He had a troubled past and was always getting into trouble. Even so, they let us date for a few months, but the situation started to get worse. Despite everything, he and I became best friends, sharing everything with each other. He told me about his problems in high school and how hard it was for him to make friends. This brought us even closer. The question now is how to deal with my parents' rejection and the pressure from the people around us, even knowing that we have a strong and meaningful relationship. He distanced himself from the group of friends because of the drama and was trying to get better. I told him my time was limited, that I basically didn't have a life outside of home, and that I wanted to move out by the end of summer. We spent 3 months without the need for a chaperone, but we were still very respectful of my parents, never staying alone at home or in a closed room. Once, we went to a drive-in movie theater, and the film only ended after midnight. But my mom already knew this and didn't set a curfew. Thinking that she'd be coming home late, we stopped at the beach to talk before heading home. During the return trip, I got a call from her, visibly upset because I wasn't at home. I explained the situation, but she and my dad wouldn't accept my explanation and accused us of being intimate. They said I was lying and that they no longer trusted me. After that, the chaperone rule was reinstated, and curfew was set at 9 p.m. This led to a major argument between my parents and me. They said they were trying to protect me from things I didn't even know existed and refused to explain what those things were. I wanted to understand, but they wouldn't tell me to preserve my innocence. In the following months, we tried to regain their trust, but we couldn't even have open conversations. I became very depressed. I had nightmares and could barely sleep. I almost decided to move out of the state to start over somewhere else, but my boyfriend was my support. He encouraged me to hang in there, saying things would get better. Despite his support, life at home was complicated and toxic. I'm the oldest of 6 siblings and had to take care of the house while working full-time. I wasn't treated well and wanted to leave. My plan was to move out by the end of summer, but my boyfriend asked my parents for permission to officially date me and gave me a promise ring. After that, my parents became even stricter, which made the idea of moving out even harder. 2 months later, I had another big argument with them because of a miscommunication, and my dad kicked me out of the house. I want to live with a friend. My mom begged me to come back, but I needed space. My boyfriend chose not to get involved in the conflicts but was always by my side, supporting my decisions without wanting to influence me. My dad apologized for kicking me out, but I knew I needed space. Later, I went back home for 2 weeks because I got sick, but I soon found a place to stay. Now, they're not happy with my decision to move out. They show support in a passive-aggressive way, but I'm determined to follow my own path. It's a complicated process, but I'm learning to handle this situation my way. On the day I was moving, My parents decided to paint the entire house and told me I couldn't bring friends to help. I had to carry all my stuff by myself. During this process, my parents discovered that my boyfriend and I had spent some time together and got furious, but not with me. They got angry with him, as if he had broken a promise to protect me. They were sure everything started at the beach and didn't believe me when I said we only kissed after 3 months of dating, and I took the initiative. They demanded an apology from him, but they didn't want to see him. Meanwhile, my boyfriend had to undergo serious surgery and was incapacitated for 4 weeks. His family got COVID, so he was unable to go to my parents' house. Besides, he didn't want to talk to them until they started treating me better. Still, my parents insisted that he get in touch, while simultaneously reprimanding him, making long calls just to yell at me and say I was throwing my life away because of him. I only kept in touch with my parents because of my younger siblings and because my boyfriend encouraged me to keep trying. But every time things seemed to get better, I'd get a call from my parents, which would leave me devastated for days. This dragged on for 8 months. When my boyfriend finally reached out to set up a meeting with them, my parents canceled at the last minute and went on vacation. The next time he tried to contact them, he got no response. And so, for more months went by. Now, my parents say they will never forgive him and don't want anything to do with him. When I moved out, my boyfriend told me he wanted to propose but had promised his brother, who was engaged, that he wouldn't do it before his brother's wedding. But that wedding has already happened, and now my boyfriend lives with me. We want to get married, but not without my parents' approval. The situation is complicated. He wants to make things right with them, and I'd like my parents to be part of our relationship, but they want no involvement. My parents never explicitly said they want us to break up, but I feel that if we did, the 1.5 years of struggle would have been for nothing. I don't want that to happen, but I also feel that my parents still control my life. If he proposes without their permission, neither of us would feel good about it. But if he doesn't, we might never get married, and that makes me feel trapped under their rules. I'm considering just getting married and moving forward, forcing my parents to make a choice. Either be part of my life or not. This would be painful, but it seems like the only way to break the cycle of control. I don't know what to do and feel stuck in this situation, not knowing the best way to move forward. If I make that decision, I might lose my relationship with my siblings and possibly my job since we all work together. I'm at a crossroads and, honestly, don't know what to do. I think the first thing the original poster needs to understand is that her parents are toxic and won't change. They dismissed her boyfriend without even giving him a chance to explain. All his attempts to approach and resolve the situation were ignored, canceled at the last minute, or rejected, while they still blamed and criticized him as if he were a horrible person. The parents' behavior is immature, and you've tried in various ways to find common ground, but they're not willing. It's not fair to you or your boyfriend. How can they not realize you live together and still reject him? This shows that they're not willing to accept your life choices. To me, the fact that they still don't accept your boyfriend, even knowing you live together, is a clear sign that they have unjustified pride. If I were in your shoes, I would do what's right for me and my partner. I wouldn't let your parents control your decisions because you don't live under their roof anymore. You have your own life and can make your own choices. Honestly, I don't think you need their permission to get married. If they want to be part of your life, they'll find a way. But if they continue acting like this, you need to consider whether it's worth maintaining this relationship. As for the job, if you decide to move forward, you can always find another one. There are other opportunities out there, and you shouldn't let your parents' pressure influence your professional choices. In the end, you need to do what's best for you and your future husband. If you allow your toxic parents to dictate your decisions, you risk getting stuck in a cycle of control and unhappiness. Ultimately, it's your life, and you decide how you want to live it. Sometimes, I prefer not to give my opinion on certain matters, usually letting the executives debate among themselves. But that day, it felt like they were completely off track, and this was just the first problem. Then, the topic of payment came up, which is always a sensitive point. Many facilities that a junior executive visited were in poor condition, and instead of taking responsibility and providing better conditions for the workers, they discussed ways to cut costs. The problem is that these cuts would affect employees at my level as a sales analyst and everyone below me, while the executives remained untouched. After hearing these discussions, I had to leave the meeting room to clear my head. I went to the bathroom and vented about how I thought it was all stupid. I complained that they were cutting everyone's salaries except their own, and, to be honest, I used some curse words and called a few people some not-so-nice names. It was only when my microphone fell that I realized it had been with me all along, which meant everyone in the meeting heard my venting. I wondered if I should go back to the meeting room, as I was sure I'd be fired. But when I returned, I realized that, instead of firing me, they were more interested in hearing my suggestions. One of the executives said, "Miss, it's clear you have strong opinions on the subject. What do you suggest we do to improve conditions at the facilities?" At that moment, I was at a loss. I had a chance to suggest alternatives, but at the same time, I didn't want to be the cause of a scandal. The meeting ended with them listening to me and acknowledging my concerns, although I received some criticism from superiors for my choice of words and the aggressive tone. Fortunately, no disciplinary action was taken, but the experience was extremely uncomfortable. Despite everything, I was satisfied to have a chance to express my ideas and maybe contribute to a positive change. However, this was one of the most embarrassing moments in my professional life. I never thought that venting in the bathroom would end up being heard by the entire meeting room. If there's one thing I learned from this, it's that we need to be very careful with our microphones. Even though this situation was challenging, I'm glad that, in the end, I might have made a difference for others. Still, I hope I don't have to go through something like this again.